There's been a lot of horrible stuff happening over the last week or so in particular. Even if you're not someone that's like jacked into the mainframe, hyper focused on cyberspace news updates or anything like that, you've probably still seen a lot of the stinky stuff that's been going on because it's been really bad. So I wanted this video to try and just be uplifting, some positive news here. Spray a little bit of Febreze, put some deodorant on to mask the odor for a bit, and just give you something to smile about. And that mission failed almost instantly. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but I couldn't take that first step. I went looking for positive news stories, and all I found was more agony and despair, doom and gloom and death. It's like smiling is illegal right now. Every single day there's something fucking horrible happening. It's baffling how common the worst things imaginable are happening on a daily basis. But I was able to unearth two very good, wholesome stories, and it was like finding the Infinity Stones. This was difficult. I felt like Indiana Jones having to go exploring and finding these treasures, but there are two very wholesome stories that have me grinning from ear to ear that I'd like to share with you today. The first story is very interesting because it involves someone that I've talked about before on the channel. In fact, the two of us used to have some beef. Beef so raw that you wouldn't see him eating it during one of his mukbangs. I'm talking about Nikocado Avocado. Over a year ago, the two of us were feuding, going back and forth on the playground, having a bit of a tiff. And now I've recently learned that Nikocado Avocado has been actively losing weight. He posted a new video kind of briefly going over how much weight he's lost, which he claims is roughly around 89 pounds, and I think that is incredible. The weight announcement does come during a pizza mukbang, but 89 pounds down and there's a noticeable difference, he's fucking earned the right to splurge like that. I think that is fantastic. The whole genesis of our controversy stemmed from me finding it sad that he was literally eating himself to death and even making jokes about like very morbid stuff revolving around the way he was eating for content. And I've always maintained that it would be amazing to see him start losing the weight. And now to see him actually start taking steps down that path, I think that's fantastic. And I have nothing but amazing things to say about that and a huge round of applause because there's a lot of hard work that goes into this, especially for the way he's been eating for so long. And to see him lose that much weight in a pretty short period of time, that's nothing shy of incredible work. So I think this is a very moving story. I hope he continues to do this. His community is encouraging him. His community has done a real 180 because when I first made this video on him and like the whole Nikocado Avocado rabbit hole, his community used to encourage him to continue to eat more. They wanted to see him really like balloon up as quickly as possible as if it was like a fucking speed run. And now fast forward, a year and some change later, they seem to really be cheering him on for a healthier lifestyle and wanting to see him happier. And he really does seem happier in this video where he talks about his weight loss, as well as just generally joking and more bubbly than I remembered him being last year. So it just really seems like an all-around positive thing, and I'm wishing him nothing but the best of luck going forward. And now the next happy story I'd like to share with you all teaches us the same lessons that anime has about never giving up. Perseverance in the face of overwhelming odds and adversity. It involves a streamer named H2P Gucio, or Juicio, I'm sorry if I fucked your name up. And this brave warrior did what no mortal should do. He took the Ogdo Bogdo challenge, which is a challenge more detrimental to your health than the Tide Pod challenge, and it's one that I myself am a survivor of as well. If you recognize the name Ogdo Bogdo, it probably just sent a chill down your spine. You probably immediately tried to hide under your desk from that boogeyman. It is a character in the game Jedi Fallen Order. Ogdo Bogdo was a bit of a meme boss, but pretty difficult. And in Jedi Survivor, the newest game that just came out in the series, Ogdo Bogdo is back. And he comes in two different flavors, and you get to the center of that Tootsie Pop two different fights. So one of them is against Spawn of Ogdo, which is clearly a reference to Ogdo Bogdo, and it's an optional boss fight that I got so fucking tilted at, I eventually made an entire video dedicated to the hardest bosses I've ever fought, and I posted it on my second channel, Moist Charlie Clips, where I went over every single boss I've fought through all of the Souls games, and then including Ogdo to compare them. And it turns out I died more to Spawn of Ogdo than any Souls boss across any of the Souls games. by a wide margin too. I died over 120 times to spawn of Ogdo, and it took me 2.5 hours to finally pull it off, but I did it. And then there is another optional fight involving Ogdo Bogdo in this game, and this time it's a gangbang. So this time it's a little spit roast between Spawn of Ogdo and Ogdo Bogdo himself, the OG. And this is the fight that locked the streamer in a purgatory, a limbo, for 29 hours, over 1,200 deaths. He spent banging his head against that Ogdo wall. I'm pretty sure he's playing on the highest difficulty. I also played on the highest difficulty, so I absolutely share his pain with this fight. And his struggle became so big that it went viral as an actual news story. So it actually got picked up by mainstream outlets, and the frog became a meme. Samsung even used the frog in one of their Twitter advertisements. That's also a really disturbing picture they used for the frog on the TV there. It looks like those really awful animated like porn games where it's like, you won't last 5 seconds in this game. I don't know, that shit's just weird. They could have just used like Crazy Frog or something, really. But Ogdo, the frog, became a meme. His channel was blowing up to 60,000 viewers just watching him fight Ogdos here. It was incredible. I, of course, was watching as well once I became aware of the story earlier this afternoon. And he had some very close calls. He was flirting with that W, but sometimes it just wasn't meant to be. It wasn't the destiny, the hand he was dealt. What an absolute heartbreaker. The boss had a single pixel of health left, actually less than 1 HP. Just a single tiny little pube on a bumblebee's bush worth of health there, and just unable to squeak out the dubski. That one almost made me cry because I had the exact same thing happen to me during one of my runs. What should have happened is he should have had a finisher that goes off when the health was a little more than where it left off. You usually have that finisher come up when there's like 2% health left or something, but for some reason it didn't for him, and it didn't for me in one of my runs too, and my reaction is almost identical to his. Where was my finisher? What?
No luck, BD.
Hey, that's alright. Run it back. But even after such tragedy, and with his chat spamming, encouraging him just to let it go, you don't have to prove anything, who cares, you know, it's a stupid boss anyway, fuck it, it's no big deal. Even with all of that mumbo jumbo, he buckled down and his spirit was more willing than ever.
W końcu! W końcu i nareszcie! Póki nie wyskoczy trzecia. Póki nie wyskoczy trzecia.
You love to see that. 29 hours well spent. 1,200 deaths of data collection later, and he pulls it off easily. I'd say damn near first try, honestly. Incredible work. This was a really fun thing to watch. I, of course, didn't watch all of it. I really only caught the tail end of all of it. But man, it must have been such a relief for him to finally be done with that challenge. So huge congratulations to him and his whole community for sticking by his side through thick and thin and eventually getting that big W. So yeah, I just wanted to share some uplifting news, and this is what I found for the last week or so. So that's really just about it. Oh, also, I did beat Ogdo and Spawn of Ogdo as well, by the way. I just want to make that clear, so I'll just show the clip of me finishing them off as a nice little positive place to end the video. There it is. Alright, that time we got the finisher. Fucking huge. Not bad. I want to start this video off by celebrating something important that's a little unrelated to the overall topic of the video, but one that calls for celebration. So let's pump our fists and wiggle our fingers together as we say rest in peace to James Corden's Late Late Show. That's right, it's finally over. We've survived the bubonic plague of bad television. James Corden's show is off the air officially, and I also love that now we have like some classified documents finally releasing that confirms what we all knew. That nobody fucking watched James Corden's show. It was a colossal flop. It was losing $20 million a year apparently before they finally decided to take it behind the barn and put it down for good, just execute it. There is nobody in the world that likes James Corden. I've said it for years now. He's like one of the only unifying things our planet has to offer. We all have our differences, but somewhere embedded deep in our DNA is this common ground of disliking James Corden. And for some reason, his shows existed for so fucking long now. It was always a mystery, and I thought maybe I was just boofing crazy pills and like he had huge fans, but clearly not. They were losing so much money on him, and now they finally decided to stop the bleeding. It's just such a breath of fresh air. Already the world looks more colorful and less gray now that the Late Late Show is dead and buried, just put 6 feet under in its coffin. No more carpool karaoke. I feel like the possibility for our species are limitless now. It's like in Gurren Lagann when humanity goes from living underground fucking cave-dwelling troglodytes to breaching into the surface world, and then they start evolving at a rapid rate. I feel like that's where we're at right now because carpool karaoke is no longer keeping us buried. You know, that was the single thing preventing us from reaching a Type 2 spacefaring civilization. It's so nice. Now let's get to the actual topic of today's video. Enough celebrating the end of the Late Late Show. I'm sure many of you have heard about this massive writers' strike that's going on right now, where the Writers Guild of America is protesting, so they've all stopped their work in the industry at the moment. There's a lot of reasons for it, but really the primary takeaways are they're not being fairly compensated for their work when it comes to streaming services. So right now they're paid a single fixed residual that aren't tied to viewer numbers and no additional payments that come through when the show shuffles between different streaming services. An example they give is one of the writers for Jane the Virgin is only receiving 1 to 2 cents for their residual checks, which is far from the norm or acceptable. And that's because streaming content has blown up recently, and for the industry itself, it's still pretty new. So they're not really getting the compensation that they should be, especially when compared to other aspects of the entertainment industry like normal movies or normal TV shows. So streaming is still in that weird gray area where they're getting face fucked when it comes to their compensation, and now they're protesting, looking for more appropriate compensation and fairer pay for it, which I think is totally reasonable. None of these shows happen without the writers. I understand the A-list actors and celebrities are always going to put asses into seats and make swamp-ass thrones as people are glued to it for these characters, but those characters are written by these writers, and without them, they'd be fucking flat and worthless. The effect of writers on the actual medium is severely overlooked by just normal viewers, I feel. I've seen real brain rot takes on this from Twitter about how the writers aren't even important to the shows to begin with, which is mind-boggling that we've reached a point where there's a lot of viewers that are unable to wrap their head around the entire show they watch is constructed by these writers. Without them, it doesn't exist, it doesn't happen, and it doesn't work. So it's super weird that people are trying to belittle their role in the industry and downplay their importance, even going as far as to call this whole strike a bunch of mumbo-jumbo, hocus-pocus nonsense and that they're entitled. It's so fucked up. Like, for some reason now people are taking up arms in order to protect billionaires in their right to exploit writers like this. I think it's fucking stupid. Like, again, the writers make the shows happen. It's not like your favorite actors that are in these shows go in there and fucking improv every single one of their lines. That's just not how it works. So yeah, I do agree that the writers deserve better pay, especially because streaming has blown up so much, and yet the pay for writers hasn't grown with it. This sector has exploded, yet for some reason the writers have been left behind when it comes to their compensation. So I think the strike is totally within their right to do. I think it's a good thing. And if you don't believe me that it's a good thing, how about I just show you some of the proof that's in the pudding right now? Get ready, because I'm about to give you a fucking enema of good news. This writer's strike has already been huge W's across the board for anybody with eyes, because since they're striking, a lot of terrible shows have had to go on hiatus, had to go dark. That includes every late night talk show, baby. Every single fucking one of these late night parasites have had to go off air because, of course, they don't write their own material. They're not like real comedians anymore. They don't make fucking jokes on their own. It's all fed to them by these writers. And now that they're striking, they have nothing. Thus, they've had to stop the programs. So no Jimmy Kimmel, no Jimmy Fallon. We're getting everything fucking purged right now and on break, and it feels so good to not have to have YouTube inundated with fucking god-awful late show talk clips. Oh my god, it feels amazing. So there's already a huge W there, already seeing some great stuff from the writer's strike, some good results. But if you want the best possible news from the writer's strike, you know what else is severely affected? Big Mouth. The worst show ever produced by human beings is currently getting hammered because of this writer's strike. It is unable to continue production as of the moment, and we can only pray, have our fingers crossed, that they will just shut down the upcoming season and call it quits. Just put the kibosh on the entire series, because Big Mouth fucking sucks. Just close your eyes and envision this utopia with me. No James Corden Late Late Show. No Big Mouth. That is a serene existence. That would actually unlock the full potential of our brains. It'd be like taking that pill from Limitless. We would fucking invent teleportation technology the next day. Now, even better news, even if Big Mouth does unfortunately continue, if we're cursed for another season of Big Mouth, it's the final season. So there won't be any after that, which that's great news, but it's bittersweet because we could just not have that season air to begin with. So regardless, though, Big Mouth on the horizon is soon to be finished, kaput, which is fantastic. I also forgot one other big one that's currently going dark. Another stinker. Saturday Night Live! Saturday Night Live is also affected by the writer's strike, so they're unable to currently continue as is. So just a lot of good W's all around here. Now, there is more to the purpose behind the strike. It wasn't all for the compensation. There is another component to this that I think it's worth mentioning here. They're also wanting to regulate AI when it comes to the industry. AI is also exploding, and it is evolving at an unbelievably fast rate, which is of course a legitimate concern here. AI is already fucking wild. It is frightening how good it's gotten in such a short period of time, and it's still very primitive. It is still very early on in this technology, so it's only going to get better and more refined. So what the Writers Guild is looking for here is some regulation where the AI can't be trained off of their works. Their works would be protected, so that way the AI can't be building models based around their scripts, can't be like generating scripts of their own based on their work, and also they can't really be using AI to go through and change some of their work or undermine it and shit like that. It's just looking for some level of protection for the writers. It doesn't seem like they're trying to completely outlaw it, make it illegal when it comes to AI in the writing room, or forbid it entirely, because AI can be used as a good tool for writers as well. It's just looking for some level of like regulation or just some openness to discuss how they can utilize AI in different ways there. At least that's how I understand it. I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem like they're just trying to get rid of it entirely from the writing process. So yeah, overall, wishing the best for the writers here with the strike. From what I can tell, it doesn't seem like the powerful suits out there are really responding at all to it in any meaningful capacity at the moment. It seems like the attitude's kind of just rub some fucking dirt in it, get over it kind of thing. But I guess we'll see how that goes when their biggest programs start to feel the effects of the strike, because the WGA is huge. They do a lot of writing. So I guess we'll see how everything plays out, but just want to talk about it a little bit. That's it. See ya. This week's been pretty doom and gloom, with a lot of awful shit coming to light all across the internet. It's been more drama-filled than an episode of Degrassi. But today I wanted to hit you with a bit of a plot twist and jump scare you with some good news, because there has been some positive shit going on that hasn't garnered as much attention as all of the drama, but I think it'll be nice and uplifting, good for the soul, to put a smile on your face like a kid meeting Spider-Man at a theme park for the first time. Let's start with Twitch. Twitch has recently been an absolute fucking war zone, like Mad Max, people chroming out their face before dropping yet another drama nuke. There's been dead careers piled up all across the platform, and a ton of truly deplorable, awful shit has been brought to light. It's just been a complete disaster. But there have been some very positive things going on as well, and I want to start with what I believe to be the most wholesome. A streamer by the name of Kai Cenat recently became the #1 most subscribed streamer on Twitch, and to celebrate, his mother gave him a call on stream, and it is so unbelievably wholesome. Let me show you the clip.
My calling me. Hello?
Congratulations, son.
Thank you.
You're number one. You're number one. I was sleeping. I kept hearing my notifications. And when I looked, you was like 79 and it counted. And like, I'm so happy for you, baby. You worked so hard. And you deserve
Yes, sir.
this so much. And we watching and we're so proud of you, everybody. Babe, I love you so much. Babe, I'm so proud of you. You're number one. And you my son. And I'm so happy to be your mom. And I just want to let the world know that you've been working hard like this for a long time. So they only now know. They just finding out. My son worked hard. He's a grinder every day, every night. And he gives me the world, and I want the world to know I love you, son. Congratulations, okay?
Yeah, I love you too.
Now, I'm a pretty tough guy, you all know that. I eat nails for breakfast. I've only ever cried twice in my life. Once when I was born, which is super cringe, and once when watching Pokemon and Ash Ketchum sets down Pikachu in that forest and then runs away. And even me, with all of my masculinity, nearly got a tear in my eye watching this clip. It's just such a nice moment. To see a mother that supportive of her son and his career, I just think it's great. And this is a massive achievement, no doubt, Kai Cenat becoming the #1 streamer on Twitch with over 80,000 subs. But what makes it even more impressive is the fact he did it without a subathon. I believe this is the largest and fastest organic growth of a Twitch channel without a subathon. Usually subathons will like really pump up those numbers, going all the way to like 150k, 160k sometimes. But this is just him streaming normal hours, doing his normal content, and growing at an incredible rate. So it is extremely special. Now, I would like to also address a little bit of drama that unfolded with this whole situation. People were really curious as to why Twitch doesn't celebrate Kai Cenat's success. And that's a very legitimate question to ask. Kai has been growing at an incredible rate, and Twitch hasn't said shit about it anywhere. They haven't recognized him anywhere. So everyone was wondering why. And I have the answer to that. It's because Twitch doesn't give a fuck about the platform or the streamers doing well on there. They don't celebrate anyone's success. It's not just Kai. They legitimately don't talk about or celebrate anyone on their platform. It just doesn't happen. In fact, their CEO, I'm pretty sure, has no idea what Twitch is. I'm going to go ahead and play a clip from stream where I kind of talked about this a little bit, and then go into it in a little more detail afterwards. Also, just a heads up, the channel you're about to see that has this clip is my only other channel, the only other official channel of mine. Just wanted to quickly address that because I keep getting asked, is Moisty Clips your channel? Is Moist Ass Emporium your channel? The answer is no to all of those. I have two channels. It's this one and Moist Charlie Clips.
So weird that Twitter doesn't save your drafts and there's no drafts at all on the website that I can find. Does anyone know why? Why
Classic
don't
Emmett.
you talk about things that matter? Emmett, I don't understand.
That guy, I don't think knows he's the CEO of Twitch. I swear to God. I have a conspiracy theory. That guy's just some kind of fucking android that they fire on whenever they need him at a conference just to kind of prove that there's someone manning the helm somewhere. Because like 9 times out of 10, that guy doesn't even know what the fuck Twitch is. I swear to God. I've only seen him one time even mention Twitch when he was wearing that goofy bow tie and like talking about how context will matter going forward, and then it didn't. I really don't think he even knows he's the CEO of this platform. I'm not exaggerating either. You'd have no idea this guy's the CEO of Twitch just by going through his Twitter. I don't think he has a single post mentioning the site anywhere, and even just looking at his bio, it's the last thing there, like he's ashamed of it. Thinking about coordination, community, and connection, and working at Twitch, I guess. Kind of like how he's like looking down like, yeah, I guess I'm the CEO of this fucking shithole. I didn't want to be, but yeah, I guess I found myself in that position. Like, this is not a guy who's, like, proud of Twitch. This is not a guy who celebrates Twitch. So, obviously, Kai Cenat's not going to be highlighted by the platform on their social anywhere. They just don't do that for any streamer. Now, don't get me wrong, they absolutely should. This is a big, big moment that should absolutely be highlighted by Twitch, at least on their Twitter or somewhere. But it just doesn't happen. The fucking CEO seems to be embarrassed of the platform in his position there. So, like, it's sad, but yeah. I'm not surprised that Kai Cenat hasn't been mentioned in any official capacity from the platform, though he absolutely should. But either way, very wholesome moment. Huge congrats to Kai and Kai's entire community for this. It's a massive, massive achievement. Now let's switch gears off of Twitch for just a moment. I want to mention the Sidemen charity match. This was perhaps one of the most impressive live streams ever held. It was like a real football match or soccer, depending on where you're from. I'm trying not to get attacked by anyone here, so I'm just going to be very back and forth on what I call this sport here. So they made a charity soccer match where two teams of huge influencers faced off in the football match of the century. And the production level here was unlike anything I've ever seen. It really felt like I was watching a professional event. And they raised over £1 million for charity, and it was just a joy to watch. It was incredible. There was a little controversy, though, as mentioned in this tweet here, but overall, the event couldn't have gone smoother. Massive stadium, massive crowd, and just wildly entertaining. Just from start to finish, a pretty much perfect stream, really. There is nothing else I've ever watched in the live streaming format put on by creators that even comes close to what the Sidemen did with this event. And it was a wonderfully positive thing for charity and just great for viewers as well. So huge congrats to the Sidemen for this one. Now let's hop on back over to Twitch for just a brief moment. There's a new kind of stream that's kind of popping off a little bit, and it's one that I've talked about before that people didn't believe me was real. Pay piggies, that's right. Financial domination streams where someone, usually a woman, is just telling men to give them money for nothing in return or to humiliate them publicly. It's become kind of a growing phenomenon on Twitter. You can find a lot of pay piggies and financial domination going on there. And it's starting to make its way onto Twitch, it seems. Let me go ahead and play you the clip here, because this is exciting.
No, Harge, don't be a pussy. You be first. Come on, let's go. Come on, Harge, don't be poor. You already did $1. Guess what? I'm literally getting 60 cents. Okay, you don't sub right now. 3, 2, 1, you're getting banned. 10, 9, 8.
Finally, this is like E3 for pay pigs. Some good news, a brand new announcement, a world premiere. Now there are streamers on Twitch that will humiliate you into you giving them your money, which is a real fetish. Again, like I said, a lot of people didn't believe me that this is real, but it is, and it's been around for a long time. There are men, usually men, that legitimately bust a nut in their trousers just giving hundreds of dollars to women that either ignore them or publicly humiliate them. And now that is making its way to Twitch, apparently, and I couldn't be happier to see that over there. I think that's going to really become a nice piece of content. Twitch may even need to implement a new category. Right next to the hot tubs category, you could have pay pig category. And that shit could pop off. Here's a quick little piece of good news. Team Moist is now #1 in Omega Strikers. We have to hold this lead for 3 more days, but you guys are absolutely fucking killing it. Legitimately crushing it. So huge thanks to everyone participating out there, getting fat dubs for Team Moist. I made a video talking about it. Getting first place in this competition allows Team Moist to get 3% of the net revenue for Season 1 of the game, which could be extremely huge in financing Moist esports, so it'd just be wildly helpful. So everyone that's been participating in it and getting wins for the team, big thank you for that. Just need to keep pushing and hold it for 3 more days and we're good. So yeah, that's all the positive stuff I could find going on amidst all this wild shit happening across the internet. So I just wanted to at least share some of it with all of you because I think it's some positive stuff. And really that's about it. So yeah. I know all of you already know this, but I can't stand public nuisance streamers, the absolute degenerate losers who go out into the world and film themselves just harassing random people. Basically, just pathetic worms that go out into the world and treat strangers like NPCs to spit on and use as props for their content. And one of the biggest goofballs in this category of content is named Johnny Somali, and he was just arrested in Japan, which is the most unsurprising news of all time. The only shocking thing about this story is that it hasn't happened sooner. Johnny Somali is a name you might have heard a couple of times over the last few months because he has said himself that he will do anything necessary to achieve clout, and the path he's chosen for that is to go to Japan and just harass everyone by spamming racist shit at them and a lot of deplorable garbage. It's a mystery how he hasn't been deported or killed. He actually flirted with death one time on stream not too long ago, actually, where he was He was barking up the wrong tree and was nearly sent to meet his maker.
Yeah, and what?
Just don't camera. All you have to say
Don't
is
grab nothing. Oh.
Anonymous sent $3 Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Hiroshima.
外国人同士喧嘩してんぞ、殴り合いめっちゃしてんぞ、金玉を殴り合いしてんぞ、外国人。
Absolutely beautiful haymaker delivered there, complete with like a Viking screech there, like a primal guttural yell as he delivers the most telegraphed hook I've ever seen in my life. But these two goobers didn't react to it at all. They just ate it like it was a bowl of cereal. And I also loved the timing of that donation because it played that Mario coin sound effect, so it actually felt like he had just got the coins beat out of him by this guy. And I love that we also have another camera angle here to capture the aftermath, because they tried to play it off like it barely hit them, but you can actually see one of them pooled blood a little bit on the ground because they got knocked out, like briefly. So it's everything about that just felt amazing to watch. It's very hard to root for someone, you know, committing a public assault, but when they're instigating and the entire purpose for them being in Japan is to instigate conflict like this, it's hard not to at least pump your fist and cheer when they finally get what they deserve. And man, once again, very impressive delivery of this wallop. It was a wombo combo. He blasted both of them. Fucking Johnny Somali watched his friend get clobbered, and then he said, "Excuse me, what about second breakfast? May I have one? I want what he's having." And then he also gets blasted too. Like, he did nothing to prevent it at all. He just sat there and took it. The camera angle where we can see what happened after they get dropped, and like all of their like belongings are scattered. I guess their fanny pack blew up when they fell over. It actually seems like they got the loot beat out of them in Diablo. Like when you defeat a mob and there's like loot left on the ground. That's what happened here. And they completely deserved it. They started that whole thing. That clapping really sums up this whole situation. When these two goofballs got dropped, everyone who witnessed it clapped. They celebrated. Like they had just watched their favorite sports team win a big game. They were happy to see them finally get dropped. Now, I'm not here just to go through memory lane of all of Johnny Somali's worst moments. There's plenty of videos that go over his history on why he's just an absolute degenerate loser. But he has now been arrested, and that's what I want to talk about, because that is a huge W. That is long overdue. So he got arrested because he broke into a construction site on stream, and there's footage of him being arrested because he films everything that happens there because it's all content. And this might actually be the happiest moment of his life because he knows this is another article about to be written about him, which means maybe a couple extra viewers there to point and laugh at him like the clown he is. You can see his eyes light up. He is loving it. Having the handcuffs thrown on him, it's all being captured on stream. This is better than Christmas for him. He got the ultimate gift here. Santa Claus was real nice to him. And he got like a 72-hour ban on Kick, which was lifted, because obviously Kick doesn't ban anyone for fucking anything. Someone could go on Kick Live right now and execute a man in cold blood, and they'd probably just ban him for 24 hours and be like, well, he's probably learned his lesson by now. But anyway, even as Johnny was being arrested, he did not go quietly into the night. He made sure to deliver more high-quality, gut-busting comedy that he's become known for, by mentioning nuclear disasters. Because that's all he fucking says there. He mentions the nuclear bombs during World War II and the Fukushima nuclear power plant disaster as jokes. That's the joke he likes to make. He's literally just an edgy bot. There's barely even a brain left in his skull. He's just been programmed to say the most generic, edgy shit that he can muster up in order to jingle keys in front of his pathetic chat that supports him. So, as of right now, there's no new updates on the status of Johnny, whether he's still in custody or if he's even going to be allowed to stay in Japan. Hopefully, he won't be allowed to stay in Japan unless it's staying in a prison, because he's just been terrorizing Japan. And after months of documented evidence of his behavior and the deplorable shit he's done over there, I don't understand why they'd let him stay there with no problem at all. But I guess we'll see. I want to give you a bonus clip though, give you a little dessert here on top of all this, because there's another public nuisance streamer who just found himself in some hot water, with his life flashing before his eyes off of problems that he created for himself.
He's sitting right over fucking there and no one's paying attention. You know why? Because of racism. Yep. That's not funny.
Funny.
No.
It's very funny.
Why is that funny?
Because I said it's funny.
All right. You and me, Central Park, tomorrow. Don't be late, motherfucker.
Do it now. Ain't no reason to wait. What happened? Yeah, what happened?
Who could have possibly predicted this outcome? Are you trying to tell me a guy like this is a coward? Say it ain't so. I don't believe you. I don't believe what I'm seeing here. So full disclosure, I don't know who this guy is. It seems like he's just another one of those revolting ooze douchebags that just instigate conflict, but in this case, the person that he's starting all the hoopla with actually just calls him out on it, and he's like, alright, then we'll fucking fight. The streamer point blank challenges him, tells him to meet him in Central Park tomorrow. Obviously, he's being very vague on purpose because he has no plans of engaging in any kind of pugilistic combat here. And then when the stranger's like, no, why wait? We can just settle it now. Which is such a badass line, and the second he unzips his jacket, you can almost hear the streamer's heart skip a beat. He's getting palpitations, and fight or flight kicks in, and you know he's not fighting, so he just bolts out. I have no doubt that is the fastest he's ever run in his entire life.
Alright. I hope he doesn't chase me, because I don't want to fight him. Am I a pussy beta? Perhaps. But I don't know.
I'd legitimately feel bad for him if he wasn't such a scumbag. You can hear the size of realization where he comes to terms with actually just being a fucking loser. He couldn't even cobble together some kind of loose defense of his actions here. He goes, am I a pussy beta? Perhaps, but I don't know. Like, he's starting to get some self-realization here at the pathetic specimen that he's become. You can also tell from the chat what kind of community he's fostered over there, so not exactly someone to feel really bad for here. The only one to feel bad for is the guy that was being harassed, because he didn't even get the closure of being able to get a few good shots in on this fucking loser. But anyway, I just wanted to share all of this information with you. Great news with Johnny Somali being arrested. Great news with this guy having a very embarrassing clip of him being a coward come out. And yeah, that's really about it. So yeah. I've got good news and bad news, and I don't care which one you want first because I've already made the decision for you. I know the optimal order is always good before the bad. So big group hug in the shower tonight. Let's hold hands and enter the smile zone together. One of the most annoying and degenerate pranksters the internet has spawned in recent memory has just been sentenced to 18 weeks in jail. His name is Mizzy, and for about a month he rose to internet infamy by doing some outrageously awful pranks. Basically, he'd just commit crimes and laugh about them while filming it, or he'd just make everyone's lives around him miserable. Just this plague of agony that swept through his local community to make everything a bit worse. I won't go through his entire resume of cringe, I'll just go ahead and give you some of his most embarrassing garbage, although in his eyes, this is his magnum opus, these are his greatest hits. So the big one that made him pop off online is when him and his friends would walk into random people's houses to just frighten them, literally just kind of breaking and entering. Then there was this one where he stole a woman's dog at the park and ran away with the dog. And then of course, who could forget the timeless classics, his iconic series here, where he would go up to strangers and ask them if they want to die. Him and his equally pathetic friends would occasionally put on ski masks and run up on strangers, ambushing them, trying to block their way, asking them if they want to die over and over again. So overall, pretty high quality, harmless, gut-busting comedy here from one of the most brain-rotted, clout-poisoned, delusional, attention-starved worms TikTok has ever seen. Mizzy was able to get his name out there for about a month with a lot of people dunking on him, clowning on him, roasting him. He didn't really have fans, except for like maybe 7 or 8-year-olds that just liked the idea of being disruptive. But outside of that, it was everyone collectively just spitting on him. And then he landed an interview on a major television network where he made an absolute fucking fool of himself, and pretty much overnight, like a fart into the wind, his online presence vanished. Well, kind of. Everyone figured out the garlic to this vampire. The one weakness every clout-obsessed turbo loser has. Being ignored. Not getting attention. Collectively, most people just stopped paying attention to Mizzy altogether. He was just this little nuisance that would buzz around occasionally, pester people, and they just kind of disregard it. No one was talking about him anymore. It took away all of his power, like Voldemort's name. Like, no one cared anymore about how many times Mizzy would do something that would get himself arrested. They'd just be like, oh, okay, moving on. It's like pee into a public pool. You expect it, and it's gross, sure, but at the end of the day, out of sight, out of mind, you move on pretty quickly. So Mizzy stopped getting attention, and after this month of infamy, everyone forgot about him. But you know who didn't? The law. You see, Mizzy this entire time has still been striving to reclaim that former glory, which is so pathetic that he considers it success when really it's anything but. What he believes is his career would be anyone else's unimaginable shame. He lives in such a distorted reality that he believes everyone shitting on him is a good thing. For him, people just knowing his name is a W. That's a big fucking victory royale right there. Whereas the only reason people know his name is because everyone dislikes him. Like, his whole presence, his whole existence is to be disliked by people, and he is proud of it. That is a nightmarish way of living in this fucking world. I can't believe it, but that's whatever. It's his life, I suppose. If he wants to ruin it, by all means. So anyway, that brings us to today, where he has now been sentenced to 18 weeks in jail. He went to trial last month where he was found guilty on 2 charges of breaching a court order. And this court order is actually the most lenient shit imaginable. Basically, it asked him to stop filming people without their consent and posting it online. But this guy is an addict. Like, he can't stop scratching at his fucking neck to violate people's privacy, harass them, and then post it online for his content. He just has this inability to stop himself from being an insufferable asshole. This was the easiest court order ever issued. It was basically a don't be a douchebag order, and he failed. So now he's got 18 weeks detention in a young offender institution, and the judge told him, put bluntly, your pranks are not funny. Which I think is a beautiful thing to say from the judge. Just scathing right to his face, cutting right to the core. Just like, hey, listen, just to be honest, you suck. Like, I need you to understand me here. You're trash. Like, you are actual ass. Your pranks are horrible. I don't know how you sleep at night. You're bad. Like, I think that is just so beautiful in how frank he is with that. So then he said that the 19-year-old's pranks were motivated by a desire to be famous and to receive money and designer clothes from sponsors, which is something Mizzy himself said, which is pathetic, truly just sad. And then the judge continues, your actions caused innocent members of the public significant harm and distress. You claimed on national television the law was weak, and now 18 weeks in the slammer for it all. I will say, I wish they had went a little bit harder here. This is someone who has shown no remorse over any of this, and after he gets out, I have no doubt he's going right back to this behavior. I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever. I even made a video 5 months ago going over just how little he gives a fuck about any punishment that might come his way. He's not going to let it stop him from just being a complete douchebag loser. So even though he'll spend 18 weeks in this detention facility, he's not going to stop this. This is all he seems to want to do with his life, is make everyone else's life more miserable and film it. So I don't think anything's going to change in the time that he'll spend away from society. I think he will come back and be just as annoying and degenerate as ever. That's my bold prediction on it, but no matter what, it is still good news, though, that he is finally receiving some kind of actual consequences for these actions. I think that is good news. That's something to make you smile. Now I'd like to give you some bad news. Colleen Ballinger is back. Colleen Ballinger made another apology video. This time, there's no music to it.
Hello everybody. Sorry I've been gone for so long. I've really missed this. I've missed talking to everyone every single day. Obviously, the last video that I posted on here is really embarrassing, to say the least. I was being accused of some pretty awful things, and I just was mad, and I should have handled that situation with maturity and empathy, but instead I just let my ego take over, and I'm really disappointed in myself.
Now, it's been quite a few months since this whole thing happened. Colleen Ballinger, Miranda Sings, was accused of communicating very inappropriately with underage fans, talking about some really weird stuff with them, a lot of very not good things going on in some group chats with them. I'm not just going to go over the entire situation. I covered it back then. Tons of people did. But what ended up happening is, after all of these accusations came to light, she responded with a ukulele musical number that I think she was striving for a Grammy, which unfortunately she wasn't nominated for. She made a song, a real song to make you wiggle your finger to, called The Toxic Gossip Train, where she didn't address anything really, or like disprove any of the claims or defend herself. She just made a song. So this is now quite a few months later. She's now coming out and saying that that whole thing was embarrassing and that, you know, she regrets the way she handled it, should have handled it with maturity. But I'm going to say, you should never regret writing The Toxic Gossip Train. That song took the Billboard charts by storm. You made a bop. Like, what you should be apologizing for is what you've actually been accused of, and then actually maybe try and talk about that instead, as opposed to your ukulele song. Like, that's not the big problem here. That's not the huge stain that needs to be addressed. Yeah, the ukulele song was a bafflingly cringe decision to do that, but the real thing here, the actual meat, is about all the accusations with the way that you've communicated with minors over the years, and the group chats, and like the sexual conversations you had with them about really awful and very weird things. That's what you need to actually talk about.
Over the last 15 years of my career, there have been moments where I was immature and inappropriate with some of my comedy, and there were times when I did not put enough thought into some of my fan interactions, and because of that behavior, people got hurt, and I am so sorry. I never wanted to hurt anybody, but it's clear that I did, and I feel so terrible about that. I also feel like there's probably people who are disappointed or feel abandoned by me because of my silence over the last few months. And I'm so sorry about that as well.
And this is just missing the mark, in my opinion. You're just giving a very vague response to a very specific set of awful allegations. By just delivering this blanketed, I went too far with my comedy, made some mistakes, hurt people, I'm sorry, you're not really doing anything besides just trying to move on from this as quickly as possible and hope that the bare minimum here is enough for an audience to stick with you. After she posted this fall vlog, she's now posted an additional, I think, 3 or 4 videos since now. She's doing daily posting again. So to me, this all just seems like, fine, I'll just reluctantly say I'm sorry. Hopefully an audience will stick around for a little bit, and I'm just going to start bombarding them with a ton of content to flood the rest of this out so that way people can just forget about it. That, to me, is what this comes across as. The accusations that have been made against her, as well as a lot of the things that have been brought to the public eye, are pretty awful. Like, it's not something that you can just, like, you know, wipe away with a statement like, it was just comedy that went too far and it was a mistake. Because, like, it doesn't seem like there was anything comedic about it, or even, like, supposed to be comedic about some of the things that have come out. It's just, like, pretty deplorable. Like, I feel like it warrants more of a direct tackling of what has been discussed and talked about. You know, like, just a more thorough explanation, I think, is warranted for the victims that have been affected by what you've done. This just seems very, like, I don't know the right word, but it seems very disingenuous and sincere, perhaps, where it's just trying to do as little as possible so you can continue to try and have your Colleen Vlogs channel do daily content and have an audience.
So I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that I create a positive, kind, inclusive, safe space online with my content. And if you want to be a part of my journey online, I would love to have you. And if not, I completely understand. I do not expect anyone to welcome me back with open arms. I don't expect to change anyone's mind with this video. I just wanted to come on here and say that I'm sorry, and I wanted to try to show people that it's possible for someone to grow and learn and be better after making mistakes many, many years ago. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to vlog again, and today I'm just gonna...
I cut out a little section in the middle there where she was talking about how, first and foremost, she's a mother, and she was explaining why she hasn't spoken on this sooner, and also that she's been trying to listen and learn from everything with what everyone's been saying. And then eventually it leads to this, where she talks about how she doesn't expect to change anyone's mind, but she hopes that she can try and prove that you can make up for past mistakes, and her path forward is vlogging. So then she transitions this apology into a vlog, which I think is a really weird decision to make. I don't know why you wouldn't make this 2 videos. I mean, maybe because the apologies is only like 3 minutes long, and it's not specific, and it still doesn't even directly talk about any of the accusations. It just tiptoes around all of it. It really feels like the apology is more of like an avoidance thing, where she can just loosely talk around the subject and say that she's sorry for it without ever needing to explain herself or what happened or her actions or intentions or anything behind all of it. So it really seems like the intention was get the I'm sorries out and hope the audience is receptive to it and will stick around to watch the vlogs. And her gamble paid off. She was right. She knew her audience. If you read the comments, it's nothing but overwhelming support for her, and the views on her vlogs are great. So yeah, I'm still a bit stunned by the comments here. A lot of them are saying, this is what you should have said to begin with. We forgive you now. Now we understand. It's all good. What the fuck? She still didn't say anything. Like, did you even watch the video? She still said nothing. It's like, the second she said, I'm sorry, everything else went out the window as if it never even existed. She has still not even said anything about any of the actual accusations or anything about it. She just loosely said, ooh, those jokes didn't land. Bit of a mistake, and I know people got hurt. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, I guess she doesn't need to. She will, I suppose, continue to do just fine here without ever actually talking about all of these things. I really don't think you can just write off a lot of what's come out about the way she behaved around minors as just her being a quirky, zany jokester. Like, there's really no way of looking at it in any way that isn't weird. But whatever, I guess. Her audience has moved past it and forgiven her, so she's back to daily vlogging and will probably continue to do just fine. So yeah, I just wanted to give a little update here on some good and some bad news. That's really about it. So yeah. Yesterday we were blessed with some very surprising news, and I'm sure pretty much all of you have seen it by now, but I want to talk about it because it's just a wholesome, positive story I'd like to share. It's like they say, a smile a day keeps the devil away. So let's get together and keep that greasy little bastard trapped in hell a little bit longer. Prepare for some ear-to-ear grinning with this one. I'm going to inject nostalgia directly into your veins with a single word. I'm going to transport you 20 years into the past when you were still eating crayons and suckling your mother's breasts for nutrients. Smosh. Smosh is one of the oldest and most successful channels in the history of the YouTube platform. If YouTube was a foreign planet, then Smosh would be the primordial ooze from which all life began to evolve from. They were one of the first channels, really, to become like a content creation house online, as well as one of the first channels to make a career out of content creation online, specifically on YouTube. The whole idea of making a living through producing free-to-watch videos online was such a laughable concept. People shit on that idea more than the girls in Two Girls, One Cup shit on each other. It was something no one believed in, it was so outlandish, and for the time, no one thought could ever work. The closest thing there was to monetizing self-produced home videos was winning America's Funniest Home Videos with fucking Tom Bergeron's quirky ass making jokes about you. That was really it. Past that, the whole idea of making money through home videos just, it didn't exist. But then a little something magical called YouTube rolls around and Smosh gets on the platform in 2005 and immediately gets a ton of steam. They get viral videos. They become the #1 most subscribed channel on the platform and stay there for a very long time. They were a staple of the YouTube community and one of the first to actually monetize their content and paved the way for other very successful channels as well. Most notably Ray William Johnson, who I believe was like the first YouTuber to make $1 million just from like his content. And it really is, in a large part, thanks to Smosh kind of blazing the trail. So that concludes the lore dump I wanted to do just to bring you up to speed with what Smosh is and really how important it was to the YouTube ecosystem. And that brings us to today's topic. Smosh as a brand, as a channel, has not been in control of the actual founders for well over a decade now. The founders Ian and Anthony sold it back in 2011. And for the first time since 2011, they are now the owners of Smosh. This is a very rare thing to see. Usually when you sell your brand, your baby that you created, it's almost impossible to get it back. Take, for example, FaZe. FaZe founders have been very publicly outspoken about how little control they have over FaZe now, and there's really not a whole lot they can do to get it back. Their hands are tied and they're getting fucking slapped around internally. It is really no longer theirs. They don't have power there. When you sell your brand or you lose control of what you built, it's very, very, very rare that you get it back. At least not without paying fucking oodles upon oodles of doubloons, like well more than you ever thought would be possible. So to see them actually be able to buy Smosh back is extremely good, but also extremely shocking. I think they got extremely lucky that the people they bought it from, Rhett and Link, are also YouTubers. So they understand the space and most likely wanted to do what was best for the creators here because they themselves are creators. So it's just a really set of fortunate circumstances that allowed them to buy the brand back. And it's very exciting for a lot of fans of Smosh and just exciting in general to see the people that actually created something finally getting control of it back. Because, again, that doesn't happen super often. Now, if you didn't follow any of these big headlines from back in 2011 or like 2017 with Smosh and all of these big moves internally, then you probably don't understand how they lost control. You know, it's not like it was a hostile takeover. It's not like it was a Pokemon card that they misplaced. They just lost it. Like one day they woke up and all of a sudden Smosh is no longer their brand. So I'm just going to briefly explain the timeline of how Smosh got out of the hands of the founders Ian and Anthony. Well, Smosh has changed hands a couple times over the last decade or so with who actually owns it. Because in 2011, Ian and Anthony, the founders of Smosh, sold it to Defy Media because they wanted to continue to build the Smosh brand, do bigger and better content, and just keep producing, you know, very expensive stuff that they couldn't reasonably do themselves. So they sold Smosh in order to finance that. Now, for a lot of people, hearing that is always cause for concern because we've seen shit like that in the past, and it never usually ends up well. When you get into bed with a money vampires in Silicon Valley, you get your blood sucked like a tube of fucking Go-Gurt, and it's not pretty. But in Smosh's case, it actually did elevate their content. They were able to produce more, they had other channels, they were producing at a very high rate, and it seemed to be going well because Defy Media was footing the bill, all the way up until Defy Media ceased to exist and got buried 6 feet in the ground. They fucking went tits up quickly and collapsed, which means they were no longer going to be piggy banking the Smosh brand. This, of course, would be a very big headache and a huge problem for Smosh if they no longer had the financial backing of something like a Defy Media because, again, it wasn't something they could reasonably finance themselves, especially now with all of the new jobs that Smosh had taken on and all of the new content they were producing. So they threw up the bat signal and a hero answered, and that hero was Rhett and Link. Rhett and Link came in and bought Smosh and footed the bill for Smosh in order to keep producing the content. So that's where Smosh has been for the last half a decade under the Rhett and Link umbrella, and also for the last 6 years, Anthony hasn't been home. In 2017, Anthony announced that he'd be leaving Smosh, citing that the content really wasn't tickling him creatively anymore. He wasn't super passionate about the direction Smosh was going. He felt that sketches were the backbone of Smosh and he didn't really have the time, nor did Ian, to really produce sketches. Thus, it kind of lost its way. So he wanted to do his own thing on his own elsewhere to pursue his own creative adventures, so that's what he's been doing for the last 6 years. And yesterday, from out of nowhere, it was announced that Ian and Anthony, the band, is back together, and they just bought Smosh. So, for the first time in over a decade, they've got Smosh back, and they will be doing more sketch comedy that they were known for back in the day. So I'm extremely curious to see how all of this goes and how Smosh pursues content creation going forward without the backing of huge brands and organizations like Defy Media and Rhett and Link. So, very exciting stuff, honestly. Like I said, this isn't something you see often. Now, there's another thing I want to briefly talk about because it's something I've mentioned before that I think is just always very interesting. Smosh has been here since 2005, like I mentioned. All of the other channels from that era, like that 2005-2006 era, aren't really around anymore. They've either moved on or stopped a very long time ago. Smosh is one of the few channels that really stuck with it, and it's played out very well for them. But this is something that I always find kind of sad. When you are too early to something that you can't actually live off it, right? I talk about this in regards to professional gaming a lot, because when I was growing up, professional gamers like Walshy and Halo 2 and all of that, they existed, but they couldn't make a living off of it. They weren't making the money then that they are today. They were too early to it. They set the table for everyone, but couldn't eat from it. They paved the way, but couldn't actually walk it. And I always find that super fucking sad. To be, inarguably, doing good content, good things, or be at the top level of gaming, like in esports, but just being there a little too early where the money's not there yet and the monetization model's not there yet, so you can't actually live off it, and eventually you have to give up that dream because it's not there yet. You were just ahead of your time. Smosh is a very unusual exception to that, where they were too early. There was no way to monetize their content. It wasn't even something people envisioned for the time. But they just stuck with it for so long out of passion that it eventually they got there. They eventually were able to make a career out of it, whereas the other big channels from their era, like What the Buck Show is usually the one I always talk about, they were forced to kind of stop because it was an expensive thing to keep doing for getting no money in return. What the Buck Show was a massive channel for its day. That channel was one of the top 5 most sub channels for the longest time, for quite a few years in the early days of YouTube. But by the time there really was monetization and you could actually make some money from YouTube, What the Buck Show had already kind of stopped producing content. And I just find that always very sad. And that's not the only channel. There's plenty of other examples, but that's usually one I go to because they stayed at like the top 5 most subbed category for a while, but just there wasn't money to be made there yet, so eventually stopped. Whereas Smosh just kept going, and now it's a powerhouse. I know this whole rant and tangent isn't directly related to the topic of the video with Smosh being bought back, but it's something I want to mention because I just do always find it very sad to look back on those massive channels for their day and see that they stopped producing content because they couldn't make a living off it, thus they couldn't keep producing the content. Because it was just too early. Like, it just wasn't there yet. Whereas if those channels existed today, they'd be making an absolute fucking killing. So it's just always sad to see, like, people that were doing incredible stuff, but just doing it ahead of their time. So yeah, I just wanted to at least briefly mention that, even though it's not directly applicable to what we're talking about here. But yeah, anyway, I think this is overall, like, really cool stuff. Like I said, I'm excited to see the direction Smosh goes now. I want to see what they start making now that it's back in the hands of the 2 people who started it. So yeah, that's really about it. So yeah. I'm not in my normal abode here, but let me put your mind at ease. It's not because I've been kidnapped, and you can tell that's the truth based on the decor here. It very clearly belongs to an elderly woman, and no octogenarian's getting the best of me. So I haven't been abducted. I'm actually in Texas doing a bunch of wild and wacky shit, and I'm sure you can also tell that my voice sounds a little odd, and it's not because it's filled with phlegm. It's actually filled with freedom, partner. Texas, you know, you just drown in that shit over here. I went to a Cavender's and got a cowboy hat, even got this one that makes it look like I'm part of the Amish Mafia. Like, I mean, it's been a crazy trip. But that's not the point of today's video. This morning, my wet dream was interrupted by thousands of messages from so many people. It was like I was getting a fucking Amber Alert, all telling me some incredibly important news. They were sounding the air raid siren, and the story I'm about to tell you is probably the biggest of the year, much bigger than Elon Musk buying Twitter. That's child's play compared to this. Compared to what I'm about to tell you, Elon Musk buying Twitter is like getting news that a kid opened a lemonade stand outside their elementary school. It's meaningless. James Corden has confirmed that he will be leaving the Late Late Show. And it's not like a prank. It's true. He's finally leaving that fucking god-awful show. And we can only pray that this is a domino effect, one of many things that he will be leaving, so that way we don't have to endure more from James Corden. This proves that there is a God out there, and if not a God, some kind of higher being that's looking out for us. This is without a shadow of a doubt the biggest news of the year. I don't care if you're the biggest Coomer on the planet who lost their mind and their nut when Belle Delphine came back out of nowhere. This is much bigger than that. This is a day that will be remembered for eons to come. The day where the James Corden pariah, the plague, was finally starting to lift a bit, and we were able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. James Corden finally leaving the god-awful Late Late Show. Amen, brother. Ye fucking haw. I was so excited when I saw this. I just looked at what the camera angle looks like. It actually seems as if I've been taken hostage by terrorists. And you know what? For a while, I was taken hostage by a terrorist known as James Corden. And, we've finally been set free. I know it looks like I'm in a dreamlike state right now because the camera, for some reason, keeps getting blurry when the sun goes out a little bit stronger, like fucking high noon out here in Texas, really like EMP's technology, it seems. But yeah, James Corden is a Category 5 hurricane of misery. He's like if Ellen DeGeneres did a fusion dance with the most annoying theater kid from your high school and created the world's worst thespian, and then found Reddit. It's like he was genetically engineered over the course of millions of years of fine-tuned evolution to be the most unentertaining person imaginable. He's been ruining movies and TV shows for almost a decade now, and I say that kind of lightly because it's not like he's the one ruining the movies. He's just in the shittiest movies and is the shittiest part about the movies, like Cats, for example, where he plays, I think it's the fat cat or something, and all he does is like wiggle his belly and go, hey, ho, 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 ho. You know, the classic James Corden comedy. But yeah, I don't like him, never have. I made that very clear. He even took down one of my videos I made about him, so we've got a grudge. If I was ever to box someone in like a YouTuber boxing match, it wouldn't be James Corden. He would beat my ass. But I would at least consider it longer than I would for anyone else. Listening or watching anything from James Corden is about as entertaining as watching your house burn down in front of you, and then also finding out your dogs were still inside. It's painful. I don't like him. Never have. I'm not really a fan. And it is so relieving to see him not be on the Late Late Show anymore. Not like that I'm going to watch the show now that he's not there or anything. I don't like late night shows. I think the only good ones were Conan and Craig Ferguson. Other than that, I don't really touch that shit. It's not for me. But this whole thing reminds me of a very profound profound saying that I actually read in Twitch chat last night. While I was watching a video on a Call of Duty gamer rage so hard they got kicked out of their collegiate esports program, someone dropped a nugget of wisdom. This is probably the second coming of Socrates, in fact. They said, the same water that softens the potato boils the egg. And that's got a lot of layers to it. There's really a lot from that expression that you can digest and take from. I don't even really know what it means. But my God, does that just sound incredible. That really could have been a quote attributed to someone like Aristotle or even Da Vinci. Like, it made me stop and think, like, that is a great point. The water that softens that potato is boiling an egg. And if I was to really start to pick apart the meaning behind the statement, like for an English class here, I would have to say it means that things react differently to things. So this is something that extends everywhere, right? The same toilet that catches the pee eats the poop. The same egg that You get what I'm saying. They say the shitted pants can never be unshat, but with James Corden finally getting off of the Late Late Show, we're taking a step in the right direction to unshitting those trousers, thank God. I pray that this is just the beginning and he fully retires very soon. And while I'm just sitting here candidly talking to you by fireside, I'd like to also talk about Elon Musk buying Twitter. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I think it's fucking crazy that he actually did it. It's a wild universe we're living in here. But I don't think anything's going to like drastically change. I don't think there's a whole lot he can do to make it better, nor do I think there's a whole lot he can do to make it worse. So I'm really super indifferent on it. I just think it's absolutely crazy that he successfully bought that fucking thing. That's like spending $48 billion on a hemorrhoid. I don't know why he'd bother, but I mean, the man is terminally addicted to it, so I guess this was just one of those things where he has so much money, why not own the thing that is consuming half of his fucking life at this point? So yeah, that's why I haven't like said too much about it, just because I don't have a lot to say about it. I just think it's going to be a pretty negligible impact on the site as a whole. It's still going to be a cesspool. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe he's going to do something crazy with it and make it great, or he's going to make it worse. I couldn't tell you. I just don't really see what anyone could do to change it that much. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there as well, since I was talking about James Corden. And just incredible news all around. Today's a great day. And hopefully now with this knowledge, you can go out there and have a fucking fantastic day of your own, knowing that the world's a little bit brighter now that James Corden's got one less show that he's in. That's about it. See ya. It's very rare that I have anything positive to share about Nintendo. I've been a very outspoken and harsh critic of this company, not because I don't like the games. In fact, I think they make some of the most fun games ever produced, but the company itself is just run by out-of-touch dementors that love to suck the fun out of everything, going out of their way to be evil, shutting down Smash tournaments, spitting in the face of all of their fans, and they're just archaic. They're like 20 years late to everything. They're probably still learning what email is. I'll scream this from the mountaintops every chance I get. It is downright criminal that they're charging for the Nintendo Online service when it is unforgivably horrible. It's a joke. It's laughable. It's worse than dial-up, and you still have to pay for it. Point is, I have shit on Nintendo more times than a dog shits on the floor during potty training. But today, I have a very positive story to share about Nintendo, and more specifically, the Nintendo Switch. Recently, a child had been abducted by a predator, and thanks to a Nintendo Switch that the child brought, authorities were able to track her down and rescue her. I know Mutahar just posted a video about this story as well, but I couldn't help but talk about it too, given how harsh I've been on Nintendo in the past. I do want to highlight when they do some good things, like in this story. So what happened here is a 14-year-old girl met a 28-year-old man named Ethan Roberts on Omegle. The two started talking and eventually exchanged nudes, and Robert traveled 2,000 miles from Arizona to her hometown. Eventually, he kidnapped her, took her back to Arizona, and coerced her into meeting strangers on Omegle to sell them nudes via Snapchat. She was immediately reported missing by friends and family, and a large investigation took place trying to find her. They had boots on the ground looking for her throughout the area, putting up flyers, doing everything they can to try and find her, to no avail. Until one of her friends saw that she was online on her Nintendo Switch. She had booted it up to watch YouTube videos and download a game. So her friend alerted authorities, obviously, like, hey, she just logged in on Nintendo Switch. So the FBI pulled the Nintendo Switch's IP address after getting cooperation from Nintendo, so they subpoenaed the information. They had Nintendo fork over everything they had about the IP address of where the Switch was coming from, and the FBI was able to swoop in and save her from Ethan Roberts, the Omegle pedophile. Now, this is something that is mentioned in the article no one really even thought of, because someone's getting kidnapped, you're not really expecting them to have their phone or a fucking Nintendo Switch, a portable game console with them. But apparently what happened here is Ethan Roberts let her keep her Switch in order to stay entertained, and didn't realize that since it connects to Wi-Fi, it can be tracked easily. So one of her friends just noticed that she had logged in, like she was online, and was like, hey, this is definitely something interesting. I'll report it to the authorities here, and that's how they found her. Like, that shit must have been like the craziest revelation from her friend, like, oh wow, she's on her Switch right now. That shit must have been like in RuneScape when Zezima goes online and like everyone's eyes get like wide, like holy shit. Just the simple checking in the Nintendo Switch friends list saved her. And it's still just so baffling how this all unfolded. Super lucky, like very, very fortunate that she had her Switch, because most of the time in a kidnapping situation, they don't like have their phone or anything that has an internet connection, which makes it very difficult to find and save kidnapping victims. But in this case, she had a flare. She had like a perpetual bat signal that was just posted up with her location, but authorities didn't even think to check it. It was her friend that just happened to be on the Switch and saw she was online that noticed it. So that was a very lucky break that they took notice and reported it. I guess Ethan Roberts just assumed that since the Switch uses outdated hardware, that it can't be traced. The Nintendo Switch is locked to 30 FPS on games. It can hardly even play mobile games. I mean, there's no way it even connects to the internet. It's probably just a cup with string on it. It's so old and archaic. It doesn't even use real technology anymore. It's totally off the grid. No one's going to be able to trace a Switch. That's fine. Dude thought the Nintendo Switch was like some kind of encrypted device or something, I guess, or just the hardware was so old and obsolete that it was untraceable. I have no idea, but really fortunate that he allowed her to keep that Switch so she could be traced and saved here. Obviously, the Nintendo Switch connects to the internet, meaning it can easily be fucking traced. Now, Ethan Roberts has been indicted in federal court on multiple charges, including child pornography and transportation of a minor with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity, and after a plea deal, he was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison. Personally, I don't think 30 years is long enough. I believe that should have been an even harsher sentence, but I'm not the judge. I didn't swing the gavel. But overall, this is a big W both from the FBI and Nintendo here. Nintendo did directly cooperate, and the FBI did act very quickly, actually, all within 11 days. And Nintendo was very quick to cooperate. They gave all the information necessary in order to track the IP and save the child's life. So just wanted to give a little positive story about Nintendo doing a great thing here, and that's really about it. So yeah. In life, there's pivotal moments where you really have to stop and self-reflect and really think about what kind of person are you? And today I entered into this moral conundrum. As I looked myself in the mirror after brushing my teeth, I stared into my soul and I thought, am I really the kind of lowlife that would take pleasure in dancing on the grave of something? And the answer is a resounding yes when it comes to the Halo TV show. If the world looked a little bit brighter today, it's because news broke that the Halo series was cancelled after its second season, and even God was smiling, so he parted all of the rain and just gave us sunshine. This is absolutely a finger-wagging moment for sure here. The Halo series is one that I've talked about a few times. I think I've made 3 videos on it. When it was first announced, a lot of the people behind the show were bragging about how they never played the games because it's like beneath them. They wanted to do their own thing and whatever. Just taking some level of pride in their ignorance on the property that they were supposed to be adapting. It really felt like they just looked down on the property, just fucking spitting on it and beef stewing it like, oh, we're adapting a video game, yucky, but don't worry, we know best. So we're gonna make something actually good here for you stupid nerds. And I went into season 1 with an open mind, as I always do, but it was just bad. It was so shitty, in fact, that it kind of got the nickname Master Cheeks, because Master Chief in the show had his bare butt cheeks out so many times and almost was never spotted wearing his armor or helmet or anything. The man is a super soldier that's always dressed for spring break, and it wasn't a good series at all, and it's not my biggest complaint with him not being the one-to-one carbon copy of this video game counterpart. I'm fine if you want to feed me the vegetables like, hey, we need to flesh out Master Chief a little bit here so he's going to be out of his armor occasionally. That's okay as long as you make it meaningful. It just wasn't in the show. I'm going to hit you with the cold water right now. No one wants to watch Master Chief fuck. And no one wants to watch Cortana watch Master Chief fuck. They turned her into a cuck. No one wants to see that. If you're adapting a beloved series like Halo, you're going to be getting fans going into it, and no fan wants to watch that. You're not going to be hooking an audience that's unfamiliar with Halo, at least not on a big scale. And even if that was the goal, Season 1 truly failed at that because it was just bad in its own right. It's not just a bad Halo show, it was a bad show. From top to bottom, it was a bad season. A couple of decent moments with a few fights, like the final episode actually was the best episode of the season, and it's because fucking Master Chief gets brain jacked into just being the Master Chief from the games briefly, where that's the only time things actually worked pretty well. The rest of the series was just dog shit. It focused on things nobody cares about. It told a story that had no real depth or intrigue to it whatsoever. It was so flat and lame. By the time season 1 finished, most people had either dropped it or completely wrote it off. And just praying with fingers crossed that a season 2 wouldn't come. But unfortunately, there was come. I don't know who at Paramount Plus convinced the higher-ups that it was a good idea to double dip here and try and make a season 2 out of this train wreck. Again, most of the audience had already dropped it. There wasn't a lot of interest. People weren't like fucking biting at their nails, scratching at their neck, hyperventilating, salivating for another season of this dog shit. Yet someone convinced them that it was worth investing for a second season, so they did. It's like when the studio execs were blindsided by memes and thought that Morbius was actually a superstar, like a cinema darling. So they actually re-released Morbius only for it to flop again. Like, that's kind of what happened here with Halo Season 2. For some reason, they thought that this time around it might do well, and it still didn't. Now, as I mentioned when I talk about this, it did start off a little better. And there definitely were better moments in Season 2 than Season 1. Like, overall, it was an improvement. Season 2 got new staff on board, from what I read, that actually seemed to care a little bit more about the property, and they introduced a new character that was already an established character in Halo lore. Thank God. They brought in a character and tried to keep it true to how he was in the lore. That character was Ackerson. And the actor who was portraying this character apparently is an avid Halo player. So he brought a renewed energy to that role, which did help, but the show was truly still directionless. It was still a fucking mess. So they started to do the exact same sins as Season 1, where they started focusing on shit no one cares about. I don't know why, because they actually started to bring all of those characters from the little side quests that everyone would snooze through into, like, the bigger scope of Season 2. Like, they started to bring all the characters together, only to then still once again put an emphasis on the shit no one cares about. Like the Kwa Han storyline and all of that. And they also brought back McKee, which I'm positive none of you remember any of these characters' names, so I'll explain. McKee was the human covenant that Master Chief fucks. Like, she and him get together and they share this romance that really comes out of nowhere. There's no fucking chemistry there at all. So they had sex in Season 1, and she died at the end of Season 1, only to be brought back in Season 2, and once again reignite the worst romance plot television has ever seen. Fucking CW Productions do better romance than the Halo series. I don't even know why they tried to fucking shoehorn this in there. I'm not here to just re-review Halo as a series again. I will say, though, I really do think Master Chief's actor here, Pablo Schreiber, I can't remember how you say his name, I really do think he could have been a good Master Chief if he just had better material to fucking work with. Like, there are some moments in Season 2 that I thought could have been great, and there were some moments that were pretty decent, like the Flood, for example. But none of it leads to the show being good. Again, Halo Season 2 is better than Halo Season 1, but that's like saying poop is better than shit. I've used that expression before, but that's really what it feels like in this series. I don't know why they would take a property like Halo and transform it into something that's completely unrecognizable from what it's borrowing from. There's no winning in that scenario. And this announcement that it's canceled after 2 seasons should really send a strong message to every other studio out there that does shit like this, because it's not exclusive to just Halo. We've seen it happen with, like, The Witcher, for example. This isn't uncommon, but I don't know why it's ever something that gets considered. Like, hey, we want to make this beloved property into a television show. Let's make sure everyone who works on it has never even heard of this property, and we'll wing it. Now, I'm sure we know what's best for those fans, and they're going to love it, and they'll appreciate it. They'll pat us on the ass. They'll suck our butts out. They're going to really love it. And then you have shows like Halo. A very expensive pill to swallow when you have to cancel because everyone hated it. It's a lesson that shouldn't even need to be learned. It should just be common sense. Like, you can just look at other shows that are successful at this kind of shit, like The Last of Us show, or even more recently, Fallout, where you have the property being adapted to a show, and it's not one-to-one. Both those shows took very different directions, but it was still very recognizable in the property they were adapting, and they also had people on board that were very familiar with the property they were adapting. Thus, they were able to create something that was good for both fans and people who have never even played or heard of the games. I don't know why studios can't see the success of shows like Fallout and Last of Us and just be like, oh, okay, so that's how we should do it going forward. I don't know how we still end up with shit like Halo. I also can't help but mention the chutzpah here that even in the midst of canceling Halo with Paramount Plus, they are still trying to shop it around for another service that will pay for it to bring another season. The fucking chutzpah to think that somehow this stinker is worth a third season, like another streaming service taking the chance and financing another one of these, is crazy. Like, they are huffing their own farts and are getting delusional off it, getting loopy from it. How? It's a clear message here that no one wants to watch more of this show. You have a couple of decent things in there, like the flood at the end or the final episode of season 1, but you are showcasing, you had 2 chances now, you are showcasing that you cannot make a good Halo show. So why the fuck would anyone else want to take a chance with this team? It doesn't make sense to me that they would still want to try and find a buyer for it. And what's also even more sad and pathetic is that I'm pretty confident that there will be some sucker that's going to do this. Someone's going to take the bait, hook, line, and sinker, and they're going to pump a ton of money into this, and they're going to make a big season 3 of Halo, and again, it will fucking flop. I'm just going to go ahead and put that prediction out there right now. I bet someone will actually buy this and deliver a season 3. And I guess we'll see how it goes from there. But it shouldn't be getting a season 3. I don't know how in Hollywood you can just continuously fail upwards. And it's not just Hollywood, actually. It's so much of the upper echelon of, like, tech and anything. Like fucking John Rizzitiello, the guy who failed at EA and then failed at Unity and continues to just find himself in these big positions. It's just once you reach a certain level of power in those kind of industries, you just can't fail downwards like everywhere else. In those industries, it's only upwards. Like, oh, you delivered 2 huge flops for Halo and everyone hated it? Well, come on board. Do you want to be CEO of Amazon? Like, you're more than qualified. Like, it's unreal. So I really do think that it will get that season 3 bought from another platform. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about this because it is a good thing that it got canceled. This should be a message for every studio going forward looking to do adaptations that you should at least be somewhat faithful to the property you're adapting instead of being outwardly shitting on it. So yeah, anyway, that's about it. So yeah.